Hey there, friends. Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a different kind of show today. If you're expecting a missing persons broadcast, just leave right now. This is not going to be about missing people. Nothing to do with missing people. This has to do with the majority of you out there. It has to do with mental health today. Now, why did I pick August 26th, 2024 to talk about mental health? Well, this is Ben's birthday, my son. I'm going to do my damnedest to keep this positive and not dwell on the negative. But I know many, many of us have dealt with severe mental health issues. And I know that there's many parents out there right now watching this show that have kids that are going through mental health issues. We're going to talk about it. I'm going to give you some tools that I've learned over the years that I think you need to have in your back pocket. Now, right now, I'm in what's called Ben's Corner. His books, his work, his hockey. Ben, my son. 33 years ago today, Ben was born. Happiest day in my life. At that time, bar none. He was born at Dominican Hospital in Santa Cruz, California. And when he came into our world, the hills behind Dominican Hospital were on fire. And they were actively considering evacuating my wife at the time, me, and the impending birth of Ben from the hospital. It was a bizarre scene. Ben had a completely normal life. Yes, my wife and I got a divorce. And I think that did disrupt our family enormously. But we had the kids on track in the best schools. And we had Ben, by choice, he went to a Catholic high school in San Jose. It gave him a background on all religions because this school didn't just, even though it was a Catholic high school, it taught and spoke about all different religions. It was an understanding that he needed. Now, he was baptized Christian when he was I think he was 3 months old. The funny thing is that Ben was the only one of 450 graduating high school students from his year at his high school that didn't go to college that next year. He had great grades, he could have gone to any college. But he decided he wanted to play in the USHL, United States Hockey League, because he wanted to get a scholarship to play Division I hockey. And you have to go to the USHL for a couple years, get bigger, stronger, faster. And he was immediately picked up by the USHL team in the draft. He played every game. First year, he had a couple interesting offers, nothing that he wanted. So he said, Dad, I'm going to do one more year. He spent one more year, and he got recruited by the #1 NCAA Division I hockey team at that point, Miami, Ohio. Ben was a defenseman, 6'2", 205. And they loved everything about him. He was smart. He was beefy. And he was one of the best skaters on the ice. When Ben was young, I met some people through the Sharks organization that said, Dave, the one thing that parents don't do with young hockey players is they teach them how to be great skaters. And we met somebody named Kathy Andrade, Andrade, who taught Ben how to be the best skater on his team. And he went to that. He went to her for 8 years. Kathy was magical. She's still in San Jose. She owns a shop there where she teaches advanced skating. She's a wonderful person. And she's taught many great hockey players how to skate the right way. Helped Ben immensely. Well, while Ben was in high school, he was playing for the Junior Sharks. And he knew he was really good. But I told him at the time, I said, Ben, you may be a big fish in a very small pan here in San Jose. But what are your skills like? Say if we put you up against the best skaters in North America. I found him a place to go called the Minnesota Hockey Camp. And he went there, and he suddenly found out that the best skaters from Canada and the US were going there. It changed his entire perspective of hockey. He knew he had to really commit to get there. That really turned him around. Came back home, kept studying. Eventually went to the USHL. Then he went to Miami, Ohio. He decided to major in business with a minor in film. Played 4 years at Miami. At one point, at several points in that 4 years, they were the #1 team in the nation. In his last year, they won their conference by beating North Dakota. And they won the game at the end of the game with Ben on the ice. A wing for North Dakota made a perfect pass across the slot, trying to hit one of their other players to poke the puck in. Ben got down on one knee, blocked the pass. Game over. I'll never forget it. Never forget it. I remember seeing Ben after the game. He was ecstatic. Dad, look at that. It was unbelievable. After that senior year, the San Jose Sharks had already invited Ben to 3 summer camps. And if you're in college, you can go to a professional hockey league summer camp and play with their new players, as long as you're not paid. Ben went for 3 years. The scouts told him, Ben, you keep it up, you're going to come to us. You're going to go to our AHL team, and then you'll move up. At the end of his senior year, at his graduation day, he said, guys, you won't believe, he told my ex and I, you won't believe it. I just won Scholar Athlete of the Year. What that meant is he had the best grades of any athlete at Miami, Ohio, his senior year. And he got a huge award. He decided to apply to film school at USC after having a talk with us and saying, I don't want to play hockey anymore. I'm done with it. I want to go to film school. He'd earned it. He earned it. Whatever he wanted to do was his life. I supported that 1,000%. He applied and got into USC Film School, the best film school in the United States. During that time before he was admitted to USC, he knew intimately about my work. Ben and I always talked about what I was doing. And he said, Dad, I've got 8 months before USC has an opening. Let's make a film. I said, you're crazy, man. He goes, no, I know a guy that'll help us. We made a film called Missing 411. You can watch it for free on Tubi. That film went to #1 in the world. And that was all Ben's idea. What you're watching right here on YouTube was all Ben's idea. There's no way I would have had this thought about being on YouTube or doing a film. It would have been ridiculous. He had the vision. Well, during the making of the movie, certain things happened. We were doing great, but Ben had emotional highs and emotional lows that were abnormally high and abnormally low. He went to USC, and those highs and lows got worse. At one point, he had a girlfriend there, and she called me, and she said, Dave, you need to come down here right now. Something's wrong with Ben. I got down there. Something was wrong. Called my ex. I said, you need to come down here right now. through some contacts we had, we got him into one of the best psychiatrists in Los Angeles County. And we went in, and the psychiatrist interviewed Ben for a long time. Then with Ben's approval, he called us in, and he had a conversation. And he said, Ben's bipolar. I kind of knew what that meant, but I didn't understand the complexity of the diagnosis. The psychiatrist said this in front of Ben. He said, this is the most dangerous type of mental illness you can have, because people with this, if they wish to take their life, they do. You won't be able to stop them. And the highs are super high and the lows are super low. And the best thing you could do is to work with me, get Ben on some pharmaceuticals right away, and let's level off those highs and lows. So we left, and we had the family conversation, me and Ben and my ex. And Ben was wickedly smart, way smarter than me. He already knew something was wrong with him, and he started to do the research. He said in that meeting, he said, Mom and Dad, pharmaceuticals are really bad for you. And they really haven't figured out exactly how they work. It's all true. And it's kind of all a guessing game. And I don't want to take them. That's what he said. He's an adult. We have no control per se. It's his life. And he had never overtly made any statement about taking his life or being a danger to himself or others. Through that, the condition got worse and worse. One of the other things the psychiatrist said was, don't ever leave him alone when he's in that mania mood, meaning he's ecstatic. We got into one of those moods. I flew from Denver to LA immediately when I heard, and I stayed with him for 2 weeks. And what happens in that, I'm telling you this for your own knowledge, what happens in these mania moods is that the brain of the person is working in hyperdrive. Hyperdrive. Whereas you and I may digest something at one speed, they're doing it at 10 times that speed. Usually they can't sleep, and they'll take off and walk. Well, he was going to USC, not in the best neighborhoods. I was staying with him. I said, Ben, do not, please hold, I held his hand. I said, Ben, do not leave this apartment without me. Please, promise. He said, I promise, Dad. I said, if you wake up in the middle of the night and you gotta walk, let me know. And he was getting up in the middle of the night before we got there and walking 20 miles. And needless to say, I got up, walked miles. I think one night we walked probably 20 miles. And then at the end of that 2 weeks, my ex came down and stayed with him. The same thing. And at the end of that time, my ex was dating somebody who went to the police and said that Ben was suicidal. He wasn't. But my ex's friend wanted to get Ben on a mental health hold, and that put him on the mental health hold. And they put him in the most dingy, wretched facility in LA County. And they said it was one of the best. It was horrible. I visited him twice a day. I had a meeting with the psychiatrist there. And they said that they would not release Ben unless he promised to take his medication. And in front of me, he promised. And I said, Doctor, I will do my damnedest to make sure that Ben takes that medication. Well, took it for the first 2 days, and the third day I said, hey, did you take your meds? No. I said, why not? He says, I don't like the way it makes me feel. I said, Ben, but you promised. He says, I'm sorry, Dad, I'm not going to take him anymore. What am I going to do? He doesn't present himself as a danger to himself or others, so I can't call the police and have him put back in. I'm stuck. And this entails the life of dealing with somebody who has a mental illness. Now eventually, Ben left USC, lived on his own for a long period of time. Then at one point we couldn't get a hold of him, called police for a mental health hold, and found out that he took his life. The worst day of my life, bar none, ever. It's taken me years to get to the point where I can talk to you like this. Now here, we have reached the point here where I want you to have some tools in your toolbox as a patient victim and as the parent, friend, family member of someone who has these conditions. And it doesn't matter if they're bipolar or they have some other mental health condition. This is really what I want you to focus on. I took a 12-session class from an organization called NAMI, N-A-M-I. It was outstanding. If you have a mental health condition, or you have a friend that has a mental health condition, or a family member, you get to NAMI, N-A-M-I. There's a chapter in your area, or you can take the class online. Okay, now, questions of family and friends to someone that you suspect is having a mental health condition, or maybe about to hurt themselves. Ask them, how are you coping with what's happening in your life? And then say nothing. Listen. You have 2 ears, 1 mouth. Listen twice as much as you talk. Ask them, do you ever feel like giving up? Are you contemplating hurting yourself? Are you thinking about suicide? And friends, this takes you looking them right in the eye. Don't divert. Don't make light of it. Hold both their hands. If you're a parent and you look right in their eyes, don't move. Have you thought about when and where you would take your life? Warning statements and signs from those responses. They say, I wish I were dead. I wish I hadn't been born. Or I'm going to kill myself. Talks about death. Important. Starts giving away their possessions. Has significant mood swings. These are all important, folks. Very important. Your response. Do not leave them alone. I don't care what they say. Don't leave. If they send one of those things, I think I'm going to kill myself, you have to call 911. You have to. You need to protect that person from themselves. You take them to a treatment center or the hospital. Determine if you can, if they're under the influence. Get other family members to help. And there's always the suicide hotline you can call for direction, and that number is 988. Don't mix words about this with them. This isn't a time to hesitate. Explain consequences to them of their actions. Suicides destroy families, marriages, long-term friendships. Pain from the person committing the suicide gets transferred to everyone in their life that loves them. Tell them that. Explain that. Explain the love and devotion and commitment you have to them. Never promise to keep talk of their suicide confidential. You can't do that. Do point out that it will get better. The sun will rise tomorrow. There's new things happening every day on research that will make life for them better. You were not placed here on earth to give up. There was nothing here on earth that said life was easy. Life is a bitch. But you know what? I'm here. Your mom's here. Your sister's here. We're all here in this together. Forever. Let me talk about soldiers. Soldiers are more likely to take their life than anyone in the public. The VA is severely understaffed. On-duty soldiers sometimes have to wait weeks and months to get an appointment to talk to somebody about mental health. That is ridiculous. 17 veterans every day take their life. That's crazy. The USA has a huge shortage of psychiatrists. 60% are over 55 and ready to retire. More than half the counties in the USA don't have a psychiatrist. We owe our young people and our soldiers better. Why aren't we committing to helping fix this issue? It has bothered me every day. Now let me talk about bipolar, Ben's condition. It's formerly called manic depression. It has emotional highs that are called mania and lows that are depression. While you're manic or have mania, you're euphoric, you're energetic, your brain is in hyperdrive. Those swings from highs to lows may occur rarely, weekly, monthly. The person may take long walks and disappear. And the psychiatrist told us that. There's a lot of people that have bipolar that have just disappeared. People don't know where they're at. I've been involved in searches for young men that were obviously bipolar, but their parents didn't want to admit they were. No, I can't say that. No, you can't. You can't even say that to me. Don't think that. It's okay. People are usually diagnosed in their early 20s. And these people are brilliant. Bipolar individuals are super smart. They'll do their own research. Ben did. And then they'll try to self-medicate. Take THC. Take magic mushrooms. Pretty common. And then the thing that really bothers me is that some people will get onto pharmaceuticals. Now the first pharmaceutical, the chances of it working are very small. But you have to get the dosage level and the other pharmaceuticals right. I don't care what you say out there. Oh, pharmaceuticals are all bad. And no, not all. The reason I know is I know 2 NHL goalies that are bipolar. It took them several years to get their pharmaceuticals correct. And then they took off, and they're superstars. And they readily admit their condition. Yes, this is true. The worst thing you can do is while you're under the care of a physician and you're taking pharmaceuticals, take marijuana and take magic mushrooms. The worst thing you could do. Because it disrupts the clinical activity of what that pharmaceutical was meant to do. And if you tell the physician later on it doesn't work, and you're not telling them that you're taking You're self-medicating on the side. You're not giving him a fair chance at getting you fixed. It's a bad thing to do. Parents and family, you cannot give up on your loved one. You can't. We had kids for a reason. There's ups and downs to raising kids. You're looking at somebody who's seen the best and the worst of life. Ben's suicide destroyed my family. Destroyed it. Allegations were made that were totally not true. People who really don't know said things that are completely absurd. There's a stigma that goes with a parent who has a child that took their life. Oh, he must have been a bad parent. He must not have cared that much. All not true. All not true, 1%. I could say with a clear mind, Ben was given the opportunity to have the best care in the world. From parents who could not have cared more. You see, Ben did a lot for me. He gave me you. You, the village. He gave me each of you. Like I said, I never would have been on YouTube. I had no interest. And he said, Dad, you have to if you're making a movie. If you're writing books, you've got to. He was right. He gave me the documentaries. He gave me that venue. And then he gave me insight into a world I never knew. Young people. And the challenges of being a young person. And I know that there's a large percentage of young people out there, just like Ben, trying to find their way. Trying to live day to day. The last thing I want to impart on you. You may not be able to get in to see a psychiatrist because they're overbooked, and a psychologist. But please take one recommendation from me. NAMI, NAMI. I spent many weeks at that organization. I've taken classes all throughout North America. Law enforcement, writing, interviewing, interrogations, everything you can imagine. Got my master's degree, have all kinds of instructors. The best class I ever took in my life was given by NAMI. Their instructors are caring. They've walked the walk. They understand the issues. They bring in people that have taken pharmaceuticals, that have taken marijuana, that have taken other drugs. They walk you through all of this. It's designed for either a loved one or a loved one and the person that's going through it, that has bipolar, or the person who has mental illness. If there's not a NAMI close to you, you can take the class online. I promise you, it will help. It will help with your understanding of what to do, how to move forward, how to help each other. It'll be enlightening like you've never believed. I promised that I would keep this upbeat. I hope I have. Each of you that have written to me over the years, and there's hundreds, said, Dave, you're one of the few people I know that will talk directly about mental illness. I will always do that. I care about each of you. I pray for your happiness. Paulides out.